Hello and welcome back. I'm Necroxix. This is the next day of my playing through this game. I decided to leave it for the next day because I was getting really tired and I felt I owed it to the game to not be, completely out of it for its finish. What do I remember having happened? Well, if you haven't watched like the last 9 hours or whatever, then you won't have any clue, but basically there was a murder. There's essentially what seems like three suspects. And the way it seems the game has set it up, she was assaulted in three different methods, with only one being the actual cause of death. But she was assaulted in three different ways. Three suspects so far. The boyfriend was the one that had choked her. We did establish that as a case. The landlord was the one that hit her in the head with the alarm clock. That was established. Both offered us options to close the case after each, respectively, for some reason. I don't know what happens if you do that, but we just continued on. And now we're on the finale, and I will be enjoying using the cheat sheet for this because I just want to see the rest of the evidence and the story unfold. My prediction is that we now have this professor on the line, and we still had to figure out who stabbed her because we did not establish that. My money is on the professor being the one that actually stabbed her, and most likely being the actual murder in the sense of the cause of death from the autopsy report confirming that that was the one that actually killed her, and the rest were not necessarily murder, but other stuff. I don't know. So where to begin? Well, first off, we have some new report. Hopefully I didn't forget everything that happened leading up to this point. It is the DNA report of the victim's fetus, so looks like the final stretch is going to be related to what we've been wondering for quite a while, and that was, what's the deal with the whole pregnancy thing? Now we finally will be delving into that from the looks of it. This is the DNA report of the fetus of the dead, and the results are as follows. And this is all we have. Now, I'm not remotely qualified to be able to read this. I'm not familiar with DNA reports and how they work. I'm sure it will come into play at some point, probably in relation to this. And let's take a look at the testimonies. This was the landlord. This must have been the final one where he confessed, I think.
莎莎不是我杀的，我只是拿钟铐了她。我出门的时候，她还在喊我救她。那个婆娘到了那个时候，都还在喊我苗哥。我本来不想杀她的，不想伤害她的，是她逼我的呀。我拿起钟铐了她，我好害怕哦。我只有让老夫给我背罪。我把时钟的时间从9:45。改成了我收到短信的时间。
Yes.
我本来想把衣柜头脚印清理了，把学娃娃也拿起走，结果是你们根本就不会怀疑到我的身上。在这个时候，我听到门口有人撞到了东西，我害怕是老夫回来了，我就开门跑。
Yeah, and I forgot about that. One of the little tidbits that we got by finishing off the landlord's confession was him admitting that the clock, although we had initially seen it set to 9:40, it was 9:45 when that took place. So now there's a 5-minute time shift, and I'm positive that they didn't do that on accident. That's going to be related, and I bet you anything this professor and his alibi with the 35-minute to get home thing is probably going to go out the window as a result of the fact that the time left on the clock was altered by the landlord. So that's all the new stuff we have, and we're going to begin by taking the professor's testimony. That's going to be number 3.
什么？莎莎遇害了？你们来的目的就是为了这个呀？12月4号那天晚上，我一直在家。啊，我知道口说无凭。我爱人在12月。
Okay, so he said his wife, because this is where he, one, acted suspiciously by saying she was murdered when he was only told she was dead, and his alibi that he gave, and it basically comes down to this 10:20 p.m. If the murder had been at 9:40, that would have been 20 plus another 20 minutes, so that would have been 40 minutes from the time of death to the time when he could have gotten home. He would have been able to, because that was like a 40-minute window. But that window is a little smaller now. There is 9:45 to 20, so you got your 20 plus 15 minutes. That's 35 minutes, and I don't think that's a coincidence.
4号晚上10点20分发过一条朋友圈，当时我正在给他洗脚。这是我。
Here's another thought. Remember when we were making fun of him for washing his feet? Why would he be washing his feet as soon as he got... Like, it makes sense that 35 minutes on the dot would have been perfect timing, and as soon as he got home, he was already washing his feet. Sort of cleaning your hands of what you committed.
这是我唯一能拿得出来的当天晚上在家的证据。如果说你们怀疑我是凶手的话，我怎么可能在35分？
That's the magic element, I think. How could I have come home in 35 minutes? Wait a minute. How would he have known 35 minutes unless they happened to have told him the time of death? I don't know if they did or not. Because I don't think at this time when we got this testimony that we even knew that it was 9:45 rather than 9:40. He would have had 40 minutes. So how did he come up with this 35-minute thing? Very interesting. Like, I'm still going to analyze this and give you guys my thoughts as we go. But now if we combine that with the testimony of the landlord that we just watched previously, we got something.
看来必须再和教授交手了。对付这种高智商的家伙，还是让我神探欧阳来吧。老强，你就等着看好戏吧。
不好意思，教授，有些问题想找您再确认一下。
你是怎么知道死者的死亡时间的？
我是看新闻里。
Fuck. The question was, how did you know the time? How did you know the death time of the victim? That is a really good question. We asked that just a moment ago, because how the hell do you know? Like, how did you even know it was a murder? Because apparently that's not what you were told. You were told she was dead. You assumed it was a murder, and apparently he knew the time of death, which explains where he pulled that 35 minutes out of his ass. And he knew the time of death, which must have been at 9:45. Whereas at that time, they would have only thought it was 9:40. Only now do they know 9:45. This guy already knew 9:45. So, what gives? Explain that to me, Professor.
我是看新闻里说的时间是
9 It was reported in the news 9:40. Okay. So then how did he get 35 minutes instead of 40?
点40分。我说的35分钟应该是口误。
He claims 35 minutes was an error.
怎么？这个有什么问题吗，警官？
教授还在狡辩，神探欧阳说穿了。
是神探欧阳，老强，记住了。
Man, these are the worst detectives. Like, come on, man. That's so. Yeah, there's definitely some significant overlap in the data that really clicks into place very badly for this guy. Because, like, yeah, even if 35 minutes was a mistake, it sure as fuck perfectly lines up with what you would have said if you knew the actual time, not the what was reported. So, and not only that, if we take this was the interview or the testimony we just had, I'm just going to click it so that it's unmarked. Excuse me. If we remember, it's not this one, but this one. This student was the one that said this guy was very strict on times. So that definitely conflicts with him saying he might have made a mistake. So this is going to be bad for him.
我觉得有必要再询问一下教授。按照证人们的说法，他不可能搞错时间。
是的，教授是出了名的守时，但是
什么？
教授是一个特别有社会地位和威望的学者，我们这样的怀疑可能会引起他的不满。开工就没有回头箭了，你有必胜的觉悟吗？
谁规定了有威望和社会地位的人就不能犯罪了？他身上有我们怀疑的原因，我们就必须从他嘴里还原事情的真相。这是我的工作，也是我活在这世上的价值，这就是我的觉悟。
有趣，那我就和你站在一起，要死，一起死了吧！
你的解释还是无法排除你的嫌疑。
你们怀疑我，太可笑了！我是这个国家最有权威的科学家。
切，
你们会为你们毫无根据的怀疑付出惨重的代价。我会写信给你们的上司，让你们失去所有。另外，现在呢，恕我直言，我现在很忙。如果你们没有掌握到实实在在我去过现场的证据，请不要再来骚扰我。请你们自便，不送。
Wow, that guy's kind of pissed.
愤怒反而说明了他心中的恐惧，不用怕他。
让我害怕的人还没出生呢。
先回去吧，我认为有证据可以推翻他的证言。
That was a hell of a reaction. But like, it was interesting that he was actually able to say, "Hey, unless you can link me to the crime, get the hell out." He's confident. And he's a professor, so he's probably intelligent. So let us take that testimony we just got and combine that I need to combine it with something. I'm not sure what it is. It says Title 1, Achievement Fire Eye Gold. I don't know what the hell that is. What the hell is it? I have his alibi picture. Not sure what that is. This is the Title 1 that we need. This combines with the professor's thing. Okay. Yes, we can continue.
放大记者背后这个声音，
这是
教授，这段视频竟然拍到了教授。
也就是说，教授不仅来过现场，而且还拿走了一只雪娃娃。
师傅，现在他的嫌疑越来越大。
Wait.
教授不仅来过。
Yeah, Jarva, let's talk some more about your computer stuff a little bit later. I'm putting my mind into detective mode. We still have a little bit of this, and we figured out what we needed to figure out. So I wanna focus on that, so I don't keep getting sidetracked. But I do want to talk with you more about the computer stuff. Is it fair enough? Okay. What he's saying here, the professor not only came to the scene,
而且
But the professor was the one that took the doll.
还拿走了一只雪娃娃。
Seriously?
师傅，现在他的嫌疑越来越大了。
我们接下来的每一步都必须要小心谨慎，一旦走错，很有可能万劫不复。不过嘛，凡事有我名侦探欧阳顶着，你们放心。
谢谢你。
咦，肉麻死了，都不像毒舌的你了。
Wow, what a jerk.
我都有些感动了。
现在可不是感动的时候，教授的谎言还没有戳穿。
拼上性命也要传唤他。
加油，师傅！加油，兰姐！
谁是兰姐？
教授，敢把您请到这儿来，我就有确实的证据。要不，还是您说吧。
你们真的很勇敢，但是你们无法解释为什么当天晚上10点20分会有一条我给我老婆洗脚的朋友圈。
Wait.
10点20分。
That was an interesting question he posed. How could my wife send a message to the Facebook at 10:20 p.m.? And I already have an inkling I know
晚上10点20分会有一条我给我老婆洗脚的朋友圈。
the feed of my wife. Oh, he was
如
watching
果我
her
10点
feed.
15分还出现在心里，
If it was captured by the news at 10:15, in other words, 5 minutes sooner,
闻上了，难道我5分钟就能回到家里吗？视频上面拍摄到的那个人的确很像我，这也的确很容易让你们怀疑到我。但是现在就想逮捕我，是不是太早了一点？除非你们有别的证据，证明我当天晚上10点过不在家。
that he wasn't home at 10 o'clock that night. It's what, like, if you don't have any evidence that says I wasn't home at 10, I'm pretty sure I do.
不在家，不然你们的怀疑就是空谈。
好有气势的证言啊！作为预审者的我，反而有些被压制了。
虚张声势是犯罪嫌疑人的惯用措施之一，不过是绝望中的犬吠而已。
没错，愤怒的证言有太多的漏洞了，我们用证据打败它。
So let me see what's going on in my head right now. Well, I can do that by showing the image. I was talking about this in a footage bit that I'm tossing out, so I'll say it again. So this was his photo that was sent by his wife. So what he's doing is he's not washing his feet, he's washing his wife's feet. So that's like his wife's foot in a bowl or something like that. This image is time-stamped because there's a photo, or like in the back of the photo rather, is a news report going on that has the time at 22:20. Now, I might be jumping ahead, but I've already realized that the RCTV would not be broadcasting the news at 22:20. And the reason is because we have the list of the programs already. So at 22:20, it would not be showing the live news yet. That didn't happen until at least 10 minutes after. So that photo had to have been doctored because we were already investigating before what was going on at certain times in this time frame bracket, which was this movie was airing. It was Shared Life. So that at least establishes that this photo is not real. It's been altered, the timestamp on this. Like, there's no way the news would be on and displaying that time. Like, she may have sent it at 10:20, but what she sent would have been altered. So, oh, and yep, that's actually the step we're looking at. So we combine that with the testimony of what's his face. I believe it's, yeah, the one that we just had. That's this one. I'm just gonna open it so it, where he's like, prove it to me. Well, here's the proof, bitch. You tampered with with your
教
alibi.
授声称他10点20在家，但这个图片有很大的矛盾。
矛盾？什么矛盾？
你还记不记得当初房东可是给了我们一份 RCTV1的当日节目单，10点20分电视里边在播放的一个节目。
哦，我想起来了，但这个图片上面播放的是另外一个节目。
所以教授的这张照片根本就不是当晚照的，只是发送这条朋友圈的时间是10点20分。我相信这是很容易办到的一件事。
这回他无法反驳了吧？
教授先生，你终于还是犯错了，可能你忘了电视这个细节吧？
电视，
你不是要控告我们吗？先解释解释这个吧。
误会，是我说过。是的，当天晚上我的确去了现场，但是我去的时候，莎莎她已经死在屋里了。我去找她，是想跟她协商解决问题。看到这样的情况，我考虑到我的身份，我不希望牵扯到这样一个服务员被杀的案件。看到莎莎已经过世之后，我拿走了那只雪娃娃。我不想留下任何蛛丝马迹。我重申一点，我去的时候，莎莎她已经死了，左胸口、心脏的位置已经插着那把刀了。
What? No.
老狐狸开始犯错了。来吧，强生，反驳他。
Okay, so definitely some interesting things going on here. So the professor is now changing his story after we proved his alibi fake. He now admits that he was there, and that she was already dead, and that he was there to like take the snowman, etc., etc. His stature in the world, blah blah blah. Who cares? But he did specifically state that she was already dead, and that the knife was in her heart. That doesn't quite add up because we have, let's look at the picture of the victim. So the victim, yes, the victim was stabbed in the chest on the left and then on the right, but the knife was left in the right, not on the left. So that doesn't quite make sense, because why, like if she was stabbed in the heart and she was dead when he arrived and saw her, just something's not adding up with that. So let me see if we got the autopsy report specifically also states the details of it, but it was easier to look at the picture. But so let's use the autopsy report and the testimony. I think, yeah, this one. Because his story still doesn't add up.
新闻中是没有提到被害者是哪个部位中刀的，但在教授的描述中很详细。
有趣。然后呢？
这恰恰就是问题所在啊！教授说，死者是刀插进左边胸口心脏的位置就已经死亡的，但他不知道是被害者是一个镜像人，而且我相信也没有多少人知道被害者的心脏是长在，但他不知道。
I need to re-see that. What? Professor said her left chest was stabbed with a knife. The location of her heart, yes.
就已经死亡。
Thus, he believed she was dead. Okay.
但他不知道是被害者。
The victim was a mirror man. What the fuck does that mean? First off, the victim was a woman, and she's not a mirror. She's a human being, or Homo sapien. So that's a weird mistranslation going on here. Maybe she meant like the victim was found in a mirrored state to what was said, or something along those lines. That's really...
是一个镜像人， 而且我相信也没有多少人。
which I think not so many people know. What? Could this be like what I was thinking that one other time? Which is like, is she supposed to be like that chick from Metal Gear Solid 2 where she's got the heart on the wrong side, or the other side of the body? That would be really unusual if so. And I don't know if that's what they're trying to say. Let's keep going.
知道被害者的心
Oh,
脏
her heart was in the right side of her body. Okay, so I think that is the case. Her heart is in fact in the... Huh.
脏是长在右边，而且最后致死的原因也是因为右胸上的刀伤啊。
bingo， 对了，
不过他为什么要隐瞒右胸上的刀伤呢？
我相信教授没有隐瞒，他这个隐瞒除了增加自己的嫌疑之外，对他没有任何好处，而且也不存在教授走后有别人进来补这一刀的可能性，因为我们当时已经封锁了整个小区，没有人再可以进入被害者的房间。
这老狐狸在想什么呢？
那就问问他，他已经没有办法再隐瞒一些事情了。
这是死者的尸检报告，发现什么问题了吗，教授？
什么？莎莎的心脏在右边。我知道，知道。
What? He knew it. What?
可莎莎，你为什么要敲诈我呢？这讲不通啊！
Oh, yeah, he's still under the impression because he didn't know Sasha's phone had been stolen on the 2nd. It was Sasha's phone that was being used for blackmail, so he may still have been under the impression that it was her blackmailing him, not the landlord blackmailing him because he was using her phone. So that lines up interestingly.
你还不明白？让我来告诉你吧。
Yeah, the solution to the next one's weird. I'm just trying to understand it. So we had this
什么？
where it seems like he did know that her heart's on the on the right side of her body instead of the left. He seemed to react really oddly to that, but it almost seems like he may have known it. For some reason, that'd be hard to I don't know how he would know that. But apparently I needed to double check the landlord's testimony, number 19. What did he say?
我承认，我当年确实喜欢卡和电池。
Okay, so the landlord on the day of the murder did enter her home for the purpose of switching out the memory card and replacing the batteries in his surveillance.
也是我之前偷了莎莎的手机。
And we know that he stole Sasha's cell phone, like I said just a little bit ago, and used it to blackmail the professor.
大教授，我想想教授那么有名有钱的人，这点钱
And then
对
he's
他
just
们
talking about why he
算
did
啥
it.
子？
So that's why we must be presenting this with this to say, hey, look, she wasn't blackmailing you, it was this guy.
这才是敲诈你的那个人，教授。我想你弄错了一件事儿，敲诈你的并不是莎莎，而是她的房东。他在之前的口供里已经承认了这一点。
不可能，那条短信是从莎莎的手机里发出来的。
房东是安装针孔摄像机的人，他偷窃了莎莎的手机给您发的消息。他已经承认了一切。
什么？你的意思是说，莎莎她完全不知情？
目前看来，莎莎是不知情的，甚至她都不知道自己被偷拍。
可笑！我自诩是一个聪明人，居然误解莎莎如此之深。
Okay, initial impressions for a sec here. What it seems like I'm witnessing here is by presenting him with the fact that Sasha is basically innocent. She did not know about the secret camera put in her room, and he did not know that she, even though it was coming from her phone, that it wasn't her, it was the landlord, the same guy that did the camera installation. And it looks like the realization of this, that she's innocent from what he was initially accusing her of, is making him guilty, like a guilt trip guilty, like he's feeling guilt for, well, potentially killing her or something along those lines. Like he's actually reacting like that. Edry's laughing, I don't.
那警官，你们很聪明。
Oh yeah, I'm the smartest dude, totally.
我可以告诉你们的是，我那天晚上9点28分。
Wait. Okay, so he came to the community at 9:28 p.m. That would be before. That would be before she came home with her boyfriend, as well as before the landlord snuck in. But if he came in at 9, like that's before the incident.
就去了小区，但我一直没进门。
Couldn't
你
get.
们知道是什么原因吗？
你的意思是这个吧？
Ooh. I want to re-see that last bit.
可笑，那晚上9点28。
The timing seems a little odd. He came to the community being the residents, at 9:28.
分就去了小区，但我一直
But
没
he
进门。
couldn't get inside.
你们知道是什么原因吗？
Do you know why? No, why don't you tell me? We're interrogating you. This must be somehow intertwined with... Let's see, we had the surveillance footage. This was at 9:30. This is when the landlord was coming in. Because, yeah, the camera... If you guys don't know, let's take one step back and think about this. This is what the residence perimeter looks like. This is the entrance. There was a monitoring, like a camera, CCTV or something like that, to the right here. At 9:30, we had video footage of the landlord coming to the residence. So, the placement of the camera, just in case you don't know the context. This is what we saw at 9:30. So this is the landlord in his outfit, in his hoodie, walking to the residence. 2 minutes after what's-his-face claimed to have shown up at the residence. 2 minutes before that, this guy was on this camera. Could that mean that they bumped into each other? Because we don't know if he went this way or not, but chances are the doctor didn't come in this way because... Or well, no, hold on, I might be wrong on that. I don't know for sure north is up, but the professor lives in the northeast. So if he would have come to the residence, you would have expected him to come from the east to the west towards the residence. But I mean, he could have maybe gone through this way or something, like, or he could have gone all the way around. So I don't know if that holds any reference, but given the timestamps, it's possible that he bumped into the landlord at the entrance area. But the landlord definitely came shortly after, because he was still at the camera at 9:30. So there's 2 minutes plus any additional time for him to have gotten from where the camera is to the gate. What of that do you have to say, sir? Is it? Oh, fuck yeah.
原来事实一直都摆在我们眼前啊！教授的一句话，也让我明白了这整个案件的来龙去脉。他是个聪明人，可惜了，
聪明并不是逃脱法律惩罚的借口。
话虽这么说，有些时候我也迷茫，我这么做到底是对是错呢？
师傅，我相信你。
欧阳，你
结果出来了。
你们比我想象的聪明。事实上，当天晚上9点28分，我就去了小区。但是我发现
I found a guy in a jacket. That's the landlord. Okay, so he did bump into him.
有个穿着卫衣的男人正在开莎莎家的
Oh,
门。
okay, and he was trying to open the door. So timestamps don't match up quite for that, so that's a little bit weird unless I misunderstood his 9:28 time frame and what he was actually doing. So let's finish this first before I read the check.
我不想让别人发现我来过这里，所以我躲在楼梯口暗中观察。让我没想到的是，没过多久，又一个跟他打扮的一模一样的人也进了莎莎的家。这个人的脸我看清楚了，那个人就是莎莎。啊，就是你们让我看的监控里边的那个人。他穿的那身衣服明显不合身，他好像是在掩饰什么。随后，又一个穿着衬衣的男人也进了莎莎的家。后来，
Wait a minute, that just threw a weird piece into the puzzle. Ooh, something is really not adding up now. Because now he's talking about... He said... He just spoke about 3 potentially different people. One is the guy that we saw in the surveillance footage wearing the hoodie. One guy that was leaving, or no, like there was one guy that broke in. That would have been the landlord. The boyfriend came after that. But then a third person wearing a t-shirt? Who would, like...
是什么？
What's weird is this.
是莎莎，我看清楚了，
I want to see this. I'm
也
sorry.
进了莎莎的家。
And no, further back. It was
让我没想到的是，没过多久，又一个跟他打扮的一模一样
a
的
guy with the same clothes. So while the landlord's inside already, Sasha came home, and then a guy with the same clothes came in again.
也进了莎莎的家。这个人的脸我
He saw
看
her
清楚，
face clearly.
那个人就是莎莎。啊，就是你们让我看的监控里边的那个人。
Wait, what?
他穿的那身衣服明显不合身，
Sasha was
他
wearing
好像
the...
是在掩饰什么。
Oh,
随后，又一个穿着衬衣的男人也进了莎莎的家。后来就是2个穿着卫衣
2 guys wearing jackets. Oh my god, this is turning into a mess.
的男人先后离开了他的
For
家。
home, one after another.
再后来，我就看到了我说的那一幕。谁杀的人，我不知道。
教授，我想你还不清楚一件事儿。我们现在可以确定的是，你看到最后一个卫衣男子离开死者家的时间是9点45分左右。
你是想问我9点45分看到尸体，到10点15分离开现场这段时间我在做什么吗？
您能给我个回答吗？
这应该是你们的工作，不是我的。
都到这一步了，你还有必要这样吗？
Wow, this guy,
不出所料，
like, he is very uncooperative. Like, he's very, like, I'm not telling you anything more. You have to present me evidence, then I will give you information. Like, that is very uncooperative.
9点30分出现在监控下面的那个穿着卫衣的人就是莎莎。可是他这么做的目的是什么呢？
All right, let me see what he just said there one more time. This was this is like completely new information. The claim now is the person that was on the surveillance video at 9:30 was, in fact, the victim. It was a girl. The victim is a girl wearing the landlord's hoodie for some reason.
在监控下面的那个穿着卫衣的人就是莎莎。可是他这么做的目的是什么呢？
我们应该揭晓一个真相啊！
We have a DNA report on the professor. Why? This is the DNA report of the professor, and the results are as follows. Bleh. So we've got the fetus and the professor. Like, do they match? Do they not? I don't know. Like, I don't know how to read these. But before we even think about that, I need to re-evaluate, like I need to re-listen to this testimony, get an idea of what the fuck is going on, because something really changed here. So before I do even that, what we do know, supposedly anyways, is this footage here at 9:30 of someone coming in wearing the landlord's coat. This person. That someone yesterday commented looked very feminine in the way they walked, a little, feminine, is in fact the victim. Or we are led to believe it is the victim, wearing the landlord's hoodie, and that's not the same person as this one. Like, they got different shoes, and we know this is definitely the boyfriend, also wearing the landlord's hoodie. And that was the belt that he had choked her with. So this must somehow interrelate with the actual pregnancy stuff, like as far as why she would. I'm thinking, but I want to understand what is going on.
你们比我想象的聪明。事实上
Okay, so let's get the timestamps. Okay, at 9:28.
当天晚上9点28分，我就去了小区
He。says he came to the community, so I'm assuming that means he arrived like at the gates or whatnot. 9:28.
但是我发现
He found a guy in a jacket. So we got a guy in a jacket,
有个穿着卫衣的男人正在开莎莎。
and he was trying to open the door to Sasha's house. So one person at that point was either entering or trying to open. I don't know if they were trying to break in or if they were just opening the door.
他家的门。我不想让别人发现我来过这里，所以我躲在
So
楼
when
梯
he
口。
arrived, he saw that happening, that first person in the jacket, and he chose to hide on the stairway. We may have to reinvestigate the map and see if there was a stairway somewhere. But so basically he hid and observed.
暗中观察。让我没想到的是，没过多久，又一个跟他打扮的一
Okay, so shortly after, a guy with the same clothes, so this might be guy number 2, that was also wearing the same outfit, showed up.
模一样的人也进
And
入
went
莎莎
inside.
家。这个人的脸我看清楚了，
And he saw person number 2's face. And that makes sense. That was the second person he's referencing was the one that was on the surveillance, because that happened after he started hiding. He arrived 2 minutes before the surveillance moment. So Sasha is the guy number 2 in this case,
那个人就是
as he
莎莎，
says.
就是你们让我看的监控里边的那个
Yeah,
人。
and that should be true, so.
他穿的那身衣服明显不合身， 他好像是在掩饰
She
什么。
seems, he says, she seems to hide something. Maybe she was like, trying to be anonymous while going to the abortion clinic, or no, or rather maybe the actual DNA testing, or no, pregnancy testing stuff. Maybe she was hiding a pregnancy kit or something. No, because that was done the day before. She got the pregnancy test the day before her murder. So what she would be hiding at this moment, uncertain.
随后，又一个穿着衬
Now, there's a third guy wearing a t-shirt in question.
衣的男人
Came
也
inside.
进了莎莎的家。后来就是两个穿着卫衣的
After that, two guys wearing jackets
男人先后离开了
left
他
home
的
one
家。
after another. In other words, guy number 2 is dead, and the other 2 left, with the second person wearing probably the jacket that she was using. So we probably have like the landlord entering first, then Sasha, then the boyfriend, and then those 2 end up leaving. That's the scenario.
再后来，我就看到了我说的那一幕。谁杀的人，我不知道。
A guy with a t-shirt, though. Thing is, like, the first person would have been the landlord. First at the scene, and then led to him hiding in the wardrobe, etc., etc. He had his jacket. For some reason, the girl came, the victim, also with his jacket. For some reason, there must be 2 of them. Maybe she stole one from him in the past or something, but she must have taken it off at least, and maybe left it on the bed or something, where whatever. But the third person is the problem at the moment, because the third person should have been the boyfriend. He said it was in a t-shirt, though. Not like this is the boyfriend. Like, you could see what like, that's not a t-shirt. That's like a button shirt, like a formal dress wear kind of thing, with pretty distinct and vivid patterns on it, the dragon stuff. And the thing about both him and the victim is we have evidence that they seem to always want to be wearing the same clothes. Every picture they've had, he's always wearing this, she's always wearing that. So if he was wearing a t-shirt and she was wearing a hoodie, both of those seem out of character potentially. A t-shirt. The t-shirt part, and I don't know if that's maybe a mistranslation, perhaps, but something about that. There's definitely a variable to that. Pull my thing up here just for a moment so that I can see where the hell we're going, because I think we're working on the DNA stuff. Oh, okay. So I don't know how to read DNA reports, but apparently you just combine them. Okay.
果然验证了我的猜想，死者果然怀了教授的孩子。
这可能就是击倒教授的关键了。
这是解开这个案件的关键性的钥匙。
这也是一把打开教授心灵的钥匙。
要破一个案，我们就要利用任何可以利用的工具，无论是实实在在的证据，或者是故弄玄虚的假话，还是针对感情的弱点，只要能让嫌疑人承认自己所犯下的罪行，这个工具就是有用的。
可是，怎么感觉良心有一点痛呢？
小李，去把教授叫过来。看看这个吧，你是个科学家，应该明白这份报告的分量。
莎莎，我的孩子。
So it is his kid. He was the one that got her pregnant.
我全知道了，我知道。 我知道。
He was drunk, shit happened. Fair enough.
对不起，对不起。我要杀掉你！我要杀掉你！
Wait, what?
那个房东走了以后，我就进了门。
Okay, so he just said after the landlord left, he went inside. Okay.
我看见莎莎受了很重的伤，但她还活着。
No, that can't be the case. That cannot be the case. He just said that she was still alive. Right?
我看到地上，
Hold on. I want to...
但她还活着。
She was still alive, he just said. Thing is, the landlord said he watched her die. Like, that was like he wanted to watch her die and just delayed going to the police so that he can watch her die. So that conflicts with the testimony of the landlord. Because if the landlord left, she should have been dead. Just to keep things organized here in our brain.
我看了地上那把刀，
Knife was on the floor.
我取下了莎莎手套，捡起那把刀。
Oh, that's why she's got one glove, guys. He took off one of her gloves to not leave fingerprints. She's missing one glove because someone else, this guy, was using it to hold the knife.
刺进了莎莎的胸部。我之所以耽搁这么久，是因为我一直在找偷拍我的那个东西。我还用莎莎的指纹解开了手机锁，手机里边没有关于我的信息。
So he even checked her phone and found no information about him. And the reason for that is because the landlord had the phone. She, 2 days prior, had gotten a new phone. Her old phone was in possession of the landlord who was blackmailing. So her new phone, because she's innocent of the blackmail and that stuff, there's no information for him to find on it. Okay.
随后，我走的时候，正好你们就到了。我是混蛋。
He's a bastard, so that means he doesn't have a mom.
我有罪。
And he's a sinner. That means he's religious. That means he's guilty, right? Or
终于结束了。
只是完成了一个阶
no,
段。
no. This
一个
isn't
阶
over.
段。
你不觉得这个案子还有很多疑点？
Yeah, there is suspicious activity.
都走到这一步了，怎么着都想看到后边的结局。可是应该从哪里入手呢？
差不多该来了。
是吧？那我了。
有点刑警的样子，好不好？
你不是让我查周边监控吗？结果发现，
More surveillance.
哎，你别打
That'll
岔
be
你
good.
快说。
I want more.
结果发现，死者在9点29分的时候还在一个便利店买东西，被
9:29
店里的监控拍下来了。
便利店在什么位置？
在这儿，离案发地还有半个小时的路程。您说这不是闹
Hold
鬼
on,
了
hold
吗
on.？It takes half hour to what?
离案
It takes half an hour to get from the store to the crime scene. The victim was at that store at whatever time
发地还有半个小时的路程。您说这不是闹鬼了吗？
ghost play.
那里的店员辨认了吗？
辨认了，众多照片，他一眼就认出了死者。
可就一眼，店员怎么可以那么肯定？
因为啊，这个店员当天和死者发生过争吵，而且刚好被监控视频拍下了。
这就奇怪了。哎，可是时间上的问题，我们没有办法解释呀。
欧阳，这都想不明白，还想当明星神探？让我来给你解释一下吧。这个呀，还得多亏了教授。
Okay, this is gonna make things really interesting. Really interesting. Okay, so let's make sense of what we just got. So, first off, let's see the surveillance video. This video was at 9:30 at a store half an hour away. And this must be the victim. Like, what are they selling? Is this like a cigarette display? Those cigarettes? No, they wouldn't put them behind display glass, right? Like, are these cartons of cigarettes? Surely not. I mean, that's ice cream over there, so... irrelevant. Okay, so that's definitely her. And another thing to note. This is the girl, and she's wearing, even though we don't have the color, you can see she's wearing not a coat or hoodie, but she's wearing her normal yellow sweater thing. And at 9:30, she simply got into a little quarrel with the guy at the store. And just to confirm, that's the yellow sweater. So she was not wearing a hoodie. It didn't look like she was carrying one either. And I bet you this is where the neighbor comes into play. Because the neighbor is a female as well. And we suspected something weird with her, even though we had like really nothing on her. And if I'm surprised they didn't put the location on this map. But regardless, if we look at this map, so this really makes a mess of things as well. Because the victim at 9:30 was not present at the residence. At 9:30, she was at the store, and it takes half an hour or 30 minutes for her to have been able to get back. So that means the absolute soonest she would have returned from the store would have been 10 o'clock, which is 15 minutes after the time that she should have been dead. Like, if she was getting struck with the clock, if she was getting choked, those all happened well before 10 o'clock. How could she not be the one physically there? And furthermore, how does the surveillance, the first video, because at 9:30, the same time she was at the store, she's supposed to be here in a hoodie, walking to the residence? That definitely does not add up. Who is this person? Because the guy said it was her. The professor said this specific individual was her wearing the hoodie. Is it possible that it was the only other woman we know, which is her, which is the neighbor, who we have almost no real information from? Does she look anything like the victim? Would be my first question. That's kind of a tough one to answer. Just getting a good look, burn that into my brain. Does that match up with what she looks like at all? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. There's always the joke, like, oh, Asians all kind of look alike. Like, but that's like that. I think the guy is still lying. Like, he didn't see her. It must be something else.
Sasha.
So we know now, at least, and apparently he did not know, that she is pregnant with his kid. It's now established with the DNA evidence, and it looks as if he didn't know that. Now, utilizing the power of my cheat sheet, we have testimony number 8. This interrelates with
我受不了了，我认罪，是我勒死了他，但是他现在拿刀杀我呀，是真。
So yeah, stepping back to the whole situation with Tiger, the boyfriend, who's not wearing a t-shirt, by the way, was that she attacked him with a knife, and that's what led to him strangling her, and then everything else we've known as a result.
真的要杀人呢？我是怎么也算是自卫吧？啊，正当防卫。我顺手抽。
But the thing is like, if it happened, should this not be happening at the same time that the victim is actually at the store or on the way back from the store? Because she wouldn't have been home before 10 o'clock.
做皮带，然后打掉他手上的刀，又勒在他脖子上，然后就把他勒死以后，我也吓坏了，就赶紧跑出了房间。对了，我想起件事儿，当时莎莎那婊子拿刀划破了我的手背，我衣服上都是血，就顺手抄起了床上一件卫衣穿上了。
Yeah, he put the jacket on.
说来也奇怪，莎莎家怎么会有男人的衣服？这婊子又他妈偷人了！
So yeah, for sure we know at least this much with Tiger, the boyfriend. He came into the house. Maybe that's what he meant by t-shirt, is maybe that shirt itself. I don't want to over analyze that because, you know, we're dealing with translations from Chinese to English. But we do know he went into the house without a coat or the hoodie, but he did leave with one. He is the one that was in surveillance video too. That's him with the coat that he took from her house and still holding the belt that he choked her with. So at 9:42, this is 9:42, 12 minutes after the 9:30 thing, 12 minutes after the surveillance at the store as well. She could not have been present in the house at anywhere from 9:30 to 10, basically. Who did he strangle? If that's true? And I think there was something else too to it that I missed. Let me see something here. Ah, right in the background. Do you guys see it? I did not. Let's pause it. There is the RCTV. So they happen to have the TV running. What is it airing, though? Oh, it looks like a sports game, like soccer or football, depending where you live. At 9:30. What was airing, though? We have to check, because this is the program list for that day. 9:30 would be 11:30 if you convert it. 11, or no, I'm sorry. 22:30. 22:30 is when the news started. The sports, I'm assuming, like if we're to assume that the sports show that we're seeing is either this football match or Sports Express. Neither of those are at this time frame. and I have no real way of knowing them. We got Football Match and Sports Express. Football Match sounds more likely, but when I think of football, I'm usually thinking of the that football, not the with your feet soccer thing. But I know much of the rest of the world, like soccer is football to them, and it's like whatever. So I don't know for sure, but if we were to assume football references soccer, that started at 1905, which would be 705, and ended before this movie starts at 2040, which is 840. 840, which is like 20 minutes, or no, sorry. I don't know, but what's on there is not the same thing. Asus is being weird in a good way. How so? You get cash back for buying motherboards? What? I want cash back for buying a motherboard. Of course, just want something. Okay, so there's something going on. Well, maybe they'll tell us. I don't like no point in overanalyzing it yet. But this is almost under wraps. I'm looking for the monitor. Why is the
还没想明白吗，二位？
难道是这个？当时监控里的电视播放的是 RCTV1的节目，可如果是9点29分的话，为什么不是共享人生呢？
只有一个可能性，有人在监控上动了手脚。
能够接触到监控的人不多，我马上去问问。师傅，和你的判断一致，果然是便利店的保安人员在那天中午将监控调慢了1个小时。他承认是被害者是便利店的
security guy at the convenience store
保安人员在那天
adjusted the camera to be an hour slower, so it's off by 1 hour.
中午将监控调慢了1个小时。他承认是被害者给他500块钱让他这么干的。
所有一切都明朗了。你知道死者为什么要这么做吗？你把这个思考融合一下，会有新的发现。
So somebody basically paid off the security guy at that particular store to alter the camera timestamps by 1 hour. That's a bit broad. Luckily, I at least know what I need to piece together for it. I just want to reevaluate why. What was this one again? His actual confession.
我想起件事儿，莎莎家怎么会有男人的衣服？
Not sure what that has to do with this, but they're going to tell us.
难道是死者莎莎计划杀死老虎？
Okay, what if Sasha planned to kill the tiger? That we've made that, we've honored that concept before. It would make most sense that the victim might be the one that that bribed the security guy, because she knew she would be on film. By altering it by an hour, she creates her own alibi. She didn't know she was going to be killed. But if she was trying to establish her own alibi ahead of time for a crime she would commit, that would make sense.
然后嫁祸给房东，而便利店里的监控是他做的不在场证明。
他事先购买了淼哥经常穿的同款卫衣，并且偷了淼哥的刀。之所以戴手套，是为了防止指纹落在凶器上。只不过他高估了自己的实力，所以丢掉了性命。
可他为什么选择在这一天做这个事儿呢？
So now we're entertaining the possibility that, and we already did make some suspicions of this before, like much earlier in the investigation, that Sasha was potentially planning to kill the boyfriend. And that really does help explain a number of things. Like, it would explain why she was wearing gloves in the first place. If she was going, like, planning to set the landlord up as the murderer that she was going to commit, it would make sense that she would have his coat and intentionally walk across the surveillance to make it look like it was him coming at that time. It would also explain why the knife was present in her home and the landlord basically didn't seem to know why the hell it was there. It would explain why she would have attacked him immediately when the boyfriend showed up. It does click a few things into place, and it would make sense that the motive would be that she's pregnant with someone else's kid and she can't get out of the relationship with her boyfriend. Like, he's too, thick-skinned, and I'll kill him, I'll kill you, I'll whatever. So her possible reasoning might be, hey, I have to kill him. That might make sense. So I need to use this to do that. Apparently, I would have had a difficult time connecting this. Glad we have that. And I believe there was the actual pregnancy result. Why this day? Well, probably because the day before is when she learned she was pregnant. So let's see.
真相也太残忍了吧！
因为他想和教授两个人长相厮守，教授的风度翩翩彻底征服了死者。他认定教授就是他的真命天子，他极度痛恨自己当下的生活，而淼哥和老虎两个魔鬼却令他无法如愿。他得知自己怀孕的消息之后，已经无法等待了，于是便策划了这条不太高明的杀人嫁祸计划。
那么，他最后致死的刀伤，难道是？
Lethal wound. I want to see this again.
也太残忍了吧！
Never mind, she and the professor. Okay, yeah, she fell for him, whatever. That's not.
极度痛恨自己当下的和老虎两个魔鬼，却令他无法如愿。而淼
Yeah, so he's referencing the landlord and the boyfriend that are monsters and wouldn't let her
哥和老虎两个魔鬼，
do her
却令他
thing.
无法如愿。他得知自己怀孕的消
When
息
she
之
knew she was
后，
pregnant.
已经无法等待了，于是便策划了这条不太高明的杀人嫁祸计划。
那么，
As for the lethal wound, because we still don't quite have an answer on that, do we? Because ultimately it was the knife that she brought that would have gotten her killed, amongst getting smashed in the head with a clock and choked. The cardiac arrest would have had to been the knife itself, which, yeah. And apparently, the solution involves that same video and something called, oh, the autopsy report. The autopsy report. Why? Why would that? Let's re-review it. This is the autopsy report. So part one, she had the scars in front and on both sides of the neck, and that led to subcutaneous tissue bleeding, temporal mandibular injury and a deep wound from the temple to the side of the head with a large amount of bleeding. So that was the choking and the clock. But then part 2, there was the knife wound under the third rib on the left chest. And then part 3 is the knife wound in the right chest that did pierce the heart. And apparently, as we fucking discovered, her heart is on the right side of her body and not the left. So this really wasn't like a mistranslation or something. It legitimately was her heart on the right and that was stabbed. And then cardiac arrest, blah, blah, blah. How the hell does that tie into this? I don't know. So...
连最心爱的男人也想杀死他，这是压断他灵魂的最后一根稻草。因为只有他自己知道自己心脏右偏的事儿，绝望让他彻底失去了活下去的信念。
女人呢？
太悲伤了。
我的确罪有应得，虚伪与残忍蒙蔽了我最后的人性。我必须付出代价，承担罪责，才能得到逝者的宽恕。我真的很感谢你们，能给我赎罪的机会。可是，侦探先生，我不明白，为什么莎莎最后要用那把匕首扎进自己的心脏啊？
您真不明白吗？
Wait, what?
要用那把匕首。
Why at last Sasha stabbed her heart with that knife? Is that what they were mentioning before when I kind of was like, wait, what? Because nobody knew, apparently, about where her heart was located.
扎进自己的心脏啊！
您真不明白吗？为什么？他为了你的名誉，而你呢？你为了这一切，你不惜杀掉了自己的孩子和一个真心爱你的女人。连我都能体会到那种被爱人亲手杀死、生无可恋的绝望。
It's
不
romantic.
至于此吧？那种绝望，却没能抵挡住他对你的依恋。当他举起刀的那一刻，你的生命、你的灵魂，都得到了宽恕。
你的意思是，难道？
即使你要置他于死地，他却依然爱着你。他用最后一点力气杀死了自己，为的全部都是你。毕竟，杀人未遂的罪名，不至于将你送上刑场吧
Interesting.
我错了，我错了。为什么你要留下我的性命，让我的余生都活在愧疚与悔恨中啊？
师傅，我觉得这被害者也太惨了吧！身边不是一些无耻渣男，就是一些衣冠禽兽。
我却觉得呀，他临死的时候是幸福的，毕竟为了自己挚爱的人而死，也算心随所愿了吧。现在你能明白他最后脸上笑容的含义了吧？
大强，你这次真是太厉害了，我服了你了都。
不过运气
Oh,
好
now
而
they're
已
all buddies and shit.
这还多亏了那个教授，是他点破了我心中的屏障。现在啊，眼前是豁然开朗啊！
哎，师傅，我把整个案子给你整理一遍，你看是这样的吗？
说说看。
6月19号，房东跟莎莎约会，
Okay, hold on.
莎莎偷刀，
Let's look at this.
跟莎莎
Okay, so what happened? Because I was going to do a recap, but it sounds like she's about to do a recap right now. So let me commentate with her.
这样的吗？
说说看。
6月19
So
号，
first off, we had the landlord that had been dating Sasha. That was for a 3-month period when she was not, like she didn't have to pay the rent as a result.
房东跟莎莎约会，莎莎偷刀。
Okay, and that's when she ended up stealing the knife.
12月2号，房东偷窃莎莎私人手机。
2 days before the murder, landlord had stolen her cell phone. Yes.
12月3号，也就是案发头一天，莎莎得知自己怀孕，房东
Yes.
向教授
So yeah, she discovers she's pregnant the day before her murder, which is also the same day the blackmail happened
送敲诈短信。
from her phone by the landlord.
12月4号，案发当天8点30分，莎莎去超市制造不在场的证据，
She established her
顺便买了
alibi.
双手套，并让保安修改了监控的时间。9点29分，房东来到莎莎家换卡，发现有人来，躲进衣柜。
So he was only there to swap out the memory card and battery. This is when he had come in on the day of the murder. And then Sasha came home, ready to commit her murder on the boyfriend. So he decided to hide.
9点30分，莎莎假扮房东回家，换下房东衣服，穿上
Yeah,
自
when she came back, that was her establishing him as the culprit. She came here to the house with his coat, which explains why his coat was here and he's still wearing his own coat as well. And
己的衣服，隐藏在门后。
so at this point, she was planning on murdering the boyfriend when he came
9
over.
点37分，老虎来，莎莎行刺失败，老虎用腰带将莎莎勒晕。
He strangled her in self-defense, obviously. Yep.
9点40分，房东收到了邻居发来的投诉短信。
Okay, so the call, the landlord was still hiding at the time of that incident, the strangling. Landlord was in the wardrobe still, and the neighbor had sent a message to him at that point. His phone was not dead, it was still alive.
9点42分，老虎换上干净的房东衣服，
He takes the
关门离开。
clothes, the jacket that was there. And that's the guy that we see in the
9点
surveillance
45分，
leaving.
房东从衣柜出来，准备开溜。莎莎喊鸟哥救命，激怒房东。
He doesn't like her anymore at this point, so
房东用边上柜子上的座钟扇了莎莎的脸，钟盘碎片划过莎莎侧面头部，造成失血。房东修改钟盘时间跟短信时间一致，9点
So wait, here's the problem I'm seeing. She's on the floor, like recovering from having been asphyxiated, right? And they just showed us video that she was still kind of on the floor when he was smacking her. If I was to go and show you the autopsy video or the body photos, the blood was streaming from the temple down, not towards the floor. That would have implied that she was upright when he smashed her up. So that might be something weird going on there, or just an oversight.
40分，听到有人来，仓皇逃跑，走
It
到
adjusted
了
the
报
time and got the hell out.
9点47分，教授来到现场，用袖子包着手
Yes,
搜
the professor didn't come in until after those two exited. He was the one, like he is the one that took the thing. So he was here basically to look for the camera.
针孔摄像机。
And then he also checked her phone at some point, but
10点01分，教授用莎莎手指开工作手机的锁，查看自己的消息。
yeah, so he took one of her gloves to not leave fingerprints and to also gain access to her phone, which had a fingerprint sensor on it. That's okay.
发现莎莎未死，看着自己。
While doing this,
随即
he
用
learned
最
she's
上
still
房
alive.
东的刀捅进莎莎左胸。
And he stabs her where he thought her heart was.
10点10分，房东报警。10点15分，警察、记者赶来，教授离开。莎莎心如死灰，用最后的力气拔出左胸的刀，插入自己心脏所在的右胸。
Oddly enough, because she was in love with the guy still, her last act was to take the knife out of her left side and stick it in her right side where her heart is. And because she's the only one that apparently knew that her heart was in the wrong place from a normal anatomy, it would get linked as a suicide, like she killed herself. That it is basically to protect the professor who tried to stab her.
整理的不错，把它写入档案吧。
好了，别说了，新闻发布会要开始了，等一下我请你们吃饭，别走啊！
快去吧。
And that is roll credits time. So that pretty much wrapped up definitely the case. Like there isn't much for me to say on that development as a result because it was nicely recapped there. So let's give some thoughts on the game. Like, because I've got a little bit to say. Well, let's start with the bad. There's definitely two things. Game over. There's definitely two issues that are definitely bad in this regard. The translations themselves would be the first of the issues. Like, it's very obvious, like, the translations are quite... Oh, I'll shut up for a moment. And they're giving us a twist on the ending. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so I was trying to do it during the credits, but I'm doing it now instead. Let's start with the bad. There were two issues, basically, that I had with the game as far as bad. The first, the translations were definitely not that good. And while you can give people leeway, it's like, yeah, it's not your native language and this and that. The problem being here is the game is a detective investigation. So one simple slip up can really make a mess of your ability to decipher the puzzle that you're supposed to be deciphering. It is one of the times where the language is pretty damn important in terms of accuracy. So there is that. But for the most part, it wasn't too bad. It was kind of funny at times. Now, the second bad issue is bigger. It's the actual gameplay. Like, as you guys have seen, like, it basically you piece evidence together that you're presented and so on. But it's extremely finicky might be the word I'm thinking of. Like, it, even if you're making a lot of connections in your head out loud, etc., you're figuring things out. the game doesn't make it always clear what it is they want you to put into those boxes, because only very specific combinations of things will trigger things. And the further the game went along, the more obscure the connections became, especially towards that last third of the game where it's like, I don't even know why this is going with this. Let's see, they will tell me. It doesn't feel at that point where I would have ever have reached a conclusion that would have made me say, try this with this. It was just like, okay. So the game definitely was lacking in sort of a hint system or something that allows you to more clearly define what it is you're trying to piece together. I know that there's like an issue with the blackmailing. I know I've got some SMSs, I know this, but it turns out I have to combine those two plus testimony, things like that. It was very difficult to know what they wanted you to do. And in most cases, you were still trying to do the same thing. The game, in the end, was giving you what it is you were trying to do, but you would have to resort to like a guide to figure out, why is it not letting me do anything? So that would be the weakest point, bad side. So those are the two main issues I had. Now the good, essentially everything else was fucking awesome. Like the acting was reasonable. It is what it is. It looked like they went with the sort of not so serious slapstick comedy approach, which overall was okay. That's got your comedic relief. That's fine. Acting quality was not too bad, I think, because it's a full motion video based game. They did a pretty good job, I think, with the filming. Like it actually looked just fine. Not necessarily the most like Hollywood standards or any of that bullshit, but for an indie game, like that was definitely pretty fucking well done. The story itself just made it the game. Like it did not take long for me to get captivated. Like the actual investigation that they created, the crime scene and the scenario, while a bit over the top, it looks like in the end, like you saw, it really got like pretty crazy. But the whole fucking thing was interesting as fuck. And it was well set up, obviously set up for game premise in this case, so that you would have a game that would connect you and send you in circles and things as you tried to solve it. Very interesting. I enjoyed it. I really did. This was a good game, and I'm just shocked at how much time I spent on it. Like I was not expecting it to last as long as it did, or for a game like this to have kept my interest for as long as it did. And it allowed me to do a lot of like inductive, deductive reasoning and talking out loud. I mean, half the time in the game we were spent staring at a blank screen, or not a blank screen, but just a still screen, and just talking out loud. I'm just unloading what's in my mind, and I had a lot of fun with that. Being able to do that on camera, on stream, on video. So what a pleasant surprise. I liked it. This was good. Not perfect, but I like it.